When it comes to pork preservation, the Amish have mastered a craft that feels almost mythical in its simplicity. Imagine this. While most of us are nervously checking the fridge for expiration dates on last night's leftovers, the Amish are calmly storing entire pigs. No electricity, no gadgets, no stress. It's a way of life that's not just practical, but deeply tied to their philosophy of self-sufficiency. Every method they use has been passed down through generations, honed to perfection, and quite frankly, puts our freezer-packed lifestyles to shame. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about keeping food edible, it's about making it unforgettable. The Amish approach to smoking meat is nothing short of an art form. Forget the shiny, Wi-Fi-enabled smokers some of us flaunt at backyard BBQs. Their tools? Wood, time, and a whole lot of know-how. No unnecessary complexity, just the kind of simplicity that works and has worked for centuries. Now, if you've ever tried smoking meat yourself, you know how easily it can go sideways. One wrong move, and that promising pork shoulder turns into something resembling a charcoal briquette. But the Amish? They've nailed it. Their smokehouses, often humble wooden sheds just a stone's throw from their homes, are sanctuaries of flavor. Inside, cuts of pork are suspended in midair, absorbing the essence of smoldering hickory, applewood, or maple, each wood choice lending its own signature twist to the final product. It's not just tradition, it's chemistry. The smoke coats the meat in flavorful compounds while forming a natural barrier that slows bacterial growth. It's like nature's way of saying, no preservatives needed. And the best part? The aroma. Let's be real. If that smoky, savory scent doesn't make your mouth water, you're either a vegetarian or have the self-control of a saint. What's fascinating is the time and patience involved. Cold smoking, for instance, is the Amish favorite. It's a slow dance, not a quick sprint. The temperature stays low, infusing flavor without cooking the meat. Days, even weeks, go by as the pork absorbs the smoke, transforming into something that can last for months. It's the kind of long-term planning that puts our Best Buy culture to shame. And when it's finally ready, every slice is a symphony of taste. Smoky, rich, and deeply satisfying. The kind of flavor that makes you pause mid-bite, wondering how something this simple can be so extraordinary. Meanwhile, the rest of us are out here tossing perfectly fine food because we're scared of a date printed on a plastic package. Patience. That's the magic ingredient in Amish smoking, and trust me, it's a game changer. They don't just toss some pork into the smoker and cross their fingers. It's a delicate dance of temperature, timing, and the perfect choice of wood. And speaking of wood, the Amish don't just pick whatever's lying around. Oh no, they're connoisseurs of smoke flavor. Applewood? It's like a sweet kiss for bacon, adding just the right touch of caramelized perfection. Hickory? That's the heavy hitter, bold and smoky, a natural partner for hearty cuts like ham. But here's the thing, smoking isn't as simple as it sounds. It's not just hanging up some pork and letting it do its thing. The Amish have this down to a science, or maybe an art. Thin slices of pork? They don't need as much time. Thick cuts? Those are in it for the long haul, soaking up smoky goodness all the way to the center. Ever seen that dark edge? That perfect smoke ring on a slice of ham? That's the Amish signature, a mark of patience and precision. And while the rest of us are fumbling with marinades and fancy gadgets, hoping our barbecue experiments don't taste like last weekend's disaster, the Amish are out there proving less really is more. It's humbling, honestly. Their approach, slow, methodical, and rooted in tradition, creates flavors that modern methods can't match. But what happens after the smoking? This is where things get really fascinating. Enter lard, the Amish's secret weapon for long-term preservation. Yes, plain old pork fat. It might sound like something out of a medieval kitchen, but trust me, this method is pure genius. Imagine this. You've got a batch of smoked or cooked pork, and you want it to last not just for weeks, but for a year or more. The Amish take lard, melt it down until it's this golden, liquid magic, and then pour it over the meat. Once it cools, the lard forms a solid seal, locking out air and bacteria. No air means no spoilage. It's like nature's vacuum seal, only better, because it also keeps the meat juicy and tender. So, whenever hunger strikes, all you have to do is chip away at that lard barrier, and boom, delicious, perfectly preserved pork awaits. Think about it. While we're out here vacuum sealing and plastic wrapping everything in sight, the Amish are preserving entire meals with nothing but fat. And it works. It's worked for centuries. This isn't just about practicality. It's about sustainability, zero waste, and using what you have like the leftover lard from butchering. Honestly, it's a little mind-blowing. In a world obsessed with the latest kitchen gadgets, the Amish remind us that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. And if you think lard is just a quirky Amish trick, think again. Preservation methods like this have been lifesavers through history, from the Great Depression to wartime. It's a tradition worth keeping alive, especially as we face uncertain times. And for the Amish, it's not just a method, it's a necessity. They're not relying on refrigerators tucked away in their barns. They're using what they've got, making sure every cut of pork is cherished and nothing goes to waste. The Amish have truly mastered the art of making nothing go to waste. When they render down pork fat, it transforms into a smooth, creamy substance that's not just practical, but downright ingenious for preservation. This isn't some fleeting food trend. Sealing meat in fat has ancient roots. The French call it confit, the British used to pot their meats, and while the Amish aren't whipping up fancy confit de canard, the principle is exactly the same: seal it, store it, and savor it later. Imagine this: pork, perfectly cooked and then nestled under a layer of lard. It's like a winter coat for your food, snug, insulating, and protective. Stored in a cool, dark place, that pork can last over a year without losing its flavor. When you finally break through that large shell, the meat beneath is as tender and flavorful as the day it was sealed. It's almost magical, especially when compared to the bland, freezer-burn taste that comes with modern methods. But here's where lard takes things to the next level. It doesn't just preserve, it enhances. Over time, the pork absorbs a subtle, savory sweetness from the fat, creating a richness that's hard to describe unless you've tried it. Picture this. It's the middle of winter, the snow is falling, and you're digging into pork preserved since spring. The taste is comforting, intense, and deeply satisfying. It makes you wonder why we've invested so much in high-tech storage when the answer has been sitting in a pot of lard all along. And the Amish don't stop there. Once the pork is gone, the lard itself is a gift that keeps on giving. reheat it, filter it, and you've got reusable fat that's perfect for cooking. Biscuits? Pie crusts? They've never been flakier or tastier. In the Amish kitchen, nothing is wasted, not even the tiniest spoonful of rendered fat. Then there's the art of pickling. For the Amish, it's not just about cucumbers, it's a way of life. Pork, in particular, gets the star treatment here. The process is simple. Bathe the meat in a brine of vinegar and spices, then let the magic happen. The vinegar does more than add a tangy kick. It's a natural bacteria-fighting powerhouse, making sure the pork stays safe and delicious for months. Pickling pork might sound old-fashioned, something you'd find in a dusty jar in your grandpa's cellar, but trust me, it's a revelation. Properly pickled pork emerges with a flavor that's tangy, tender, and utterly unique. It's not just meat anymore, it's a whole new experience. And the best part? The Amish don't stop at pork. Onions, carrots, eggs, even watermelon rind. If it's edible, it's pickleable. For pork, the Amish often experiment with spices, tossing in peppercorns, mustard seeds, garlic, or bay leaves. Each combination gives the meat its own signature taste, turning preservation into a creative outlet. And let's be honest, there's something timeless about pulling a jar of pickled pork off the shelf, knowing it's as flavorful as it is practical. In a world obsessed with expiration dates and plastic packaging, the Amish approach feels almost revolutionary. It's slow, deliberate, and steeped in tradition, a reminder that sometimes the old ways really are the best. The Amish way of preserving pork is like a masterclass in simplicity and ingenuity, and salt takes center stage as the original preservation powerhouse. Long before refrigerators or food storage apps, salt was the hero of the kitchen, saving meats from spoilage and turning them into culinary treasures. The Amish continue this time-honored tradition, rubbing pork with a thick layer of coarse salt. Not the sprinkle on your fries kind, but a serious coat that transforms the meat into a savory masterpiece. Here's the science. Salt draws out moisture from the pork, creating an inhospitable environment for bacteria. Without water, those little microbes don't stand a chance. Over days or even weeks, the salt works its magic, seeping deep into the meat to preserve it and amplify its flavor. It's like nature's original marinade, but with results that last for months. This isn't a rushed process, though. The Amish aren't just slapping on some salt and calling it a day. They coat every inch of the pork, sometimes adding herbs and spices for an extra burst of flavor. Then the meat is left to cure in a cool, dry place, developing rich, savory notes as time passes. It's a careful balance. Too much salt and you'd have a culinary disaster. Too little and the preservation won't hold. But when done right, the result is pork that can survive storage conditions modern meat wouldn't dream of. Once the pork is cured and dried, there's no need for refrigeration, temperature settings, or high-tech gadgets. The Amish simply wrap the meat in cloth or paper, hang it up, and let time do the rest. Weeks or even months later, that pork is as safe and flavorful as the day it was preserved. It's a stark contrast to our modern approach, where leftovers barely survive a week in the fridge before becoming questionable science experiments. And here's the kicker. Salt doesn't just preserve, it enhances. The pork absorbs a rich, savory depth that modern methods can't replicate. It's food with character, built to last and satisfy. In an Amish kitchen, nothing goes to waste. not even the less popular cuts of the pig. To them, the whole animal is valuable. They honor every part, finding ways to make even the humblest bits into something delicious and practical. It's a mindset that goes beyond just food. It's about respect for resources, tradition, and the work that goes into raising an animal. It's funny to think about. While we fret over expiration dates and freezer burn, the Amish confidently pull salt-cured pork from their cupboards. Their methods remind us that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best and the most delicious. When it comes to pork, the Amish waste nothing. While we might stick to chops and bacon, they're masters of using every part of the pig. Take scrapple, for example, a hearty loaf made from pork scraps and cornmeal, fried to crispy perfection. Or head cheese, a savory jelly crafted from boiled-down pig heads. Sound intense? Maybe, but it's a generations-old practice rooted in respect for resources. Even the organs get special treatment, with liver transformed into liverwurst and pig's feet pickled for snacking. For the Amish, it's not just about food. It's about honoring the animal and their hard work. Butchering Day. It's a community event, a block party, with a purpose. Families gather during the cooler months to process, cure, and preserve pork together. Kids stoke fires while the adults carve, salt, and smoke. Laughter and stories fill the air as skills are passed down, ensuring no part of the animal goes to waste. By the end of the day, everyone walks away with a well-stocked pantry and a sense of pride in keeping tradition alive. What's impressive is how the Amish approach sustainability. Forget plastic wrap and freezers. Their methods rely on salt, smoke, and lard. Need storage? Wrap the meat in fat or hang it in a cool, dry spot. This zero-waste lifestyle doesn't just keep their kitchens eco-friendly. It's proof that age-old techniques can outshine modern solutions. Of course, these methods aren't without challenges. Preserving pork the Amish way is no quick weekend project. It's a time-consuming art. And proper storage is key. A misstep could mean spoilage or worse. But for those willing to embrace the process, it's a rewarding way to reconnect with food, nature, and tradition. So, ready to try it? Start small, invest in quality salt, and take notes from the Amish on patience and precision. Sure, your kitchen might look like a salt-covered experiment at first, but with practice, you'll turn humble pork into a lasting masterpiece.